What's going on, guys? If y'all are new, my name is Clay. This is Life by the Bow, and we're a fishing and boating channel here on YouTube. But today I'm coming to you guys just to bring you a little bit of information, couple tips, couple tricks based on how to save money on fuel out on the water, or just to save and conserve fuel in general. So I'm not gonna waste too much time. I'm just gonna go ahead, get right into it. And probably one of the biggest things that I would start out with is trailering your boat. For us down here in the Florida Keys, we trailer both of our boats. The reason why is because we like keeping them out of the salt water, away from the environment. And the biggest thing is we don't have to pay for storage. And when we buy fuel, we buy our fuel on the side of the road, just like somebody would if they were to buy it in their car, because we can simply hook up the truck right up to the trailer here, pull it to the gas station, and then automatically we're saving about $1 to $2 a gallon, sometimes even more, just by trailering our boat. Another way to just kind of bring expenses down, a lot of people keep their boats in a slip, or they keep their boats in a marina. Just by pulling your boat from the slip or pulling it from the marina, you know, you're gonna save X amount of dollars a month just by keeping your boat on the trailer. If you actually have a place to keep it on the trailer, just by not paying that marina or paying that slip cost. So that's a huge one to begin with. Next up, go ahead and invest in a good chart plotter or just good charts in general. And the reason why I say this is because, you know, you may realize over time you're taking the safe route. And a lot of the times the safe route isn't the shortest route. So if you have a good chart plotter, you have some good charts, what you can do is you can take a lot of shortcuts, and by taking these shortcuts, you're not traveling as far, and therefore when you're not traveling as far, you're not burning as much fuel in general. We have Garmin chart plotters on all of our boats just because this is what we prefer, and they seem to have the best and most up-to-date charts in my opinion, and they're always accurate. So that's something that is huge. Next up, do your research and network. You know, this mainly applies when it comes to fishing. We're big on fishing down here in the Florida Keys, and we burn a lot of fuel by going to particular fishing spots. So by talking to people, networking, you can communicate with other people that are running their boats and out fishing and just say, hey, you know, did you have any luck at this depth, or did you have any luck at this spot? And you can basically get their 2 cents, see what they say, because if they say, hey, this spot's no good, I wouldn't even bother trying it. You know, you could run all the way over there, burn all that fuel, and then you come to find out that it's no good when you could have just picked up the phone or got on the radio real quick without burning all that extra fuel to go and try that spot out. So by talking to people, getting some information, you know, that could save you a couple trips from point A to B, C, D, E, F, you know, because that's what we do when we're fishing. We're always hopping around trying different spots. So by pinpointing the ones that are good, by networking, that is a big, big thing. Next up is budgeting. You know, I can't even tell you how much money I've spent on boating and fishing throughout the years, and a lot of that just has to do with just when we go out on the boat, we're really excited, and when we're excited, sometimes we don't think about how much money that we're spending. So you can really try to cut back and just be very particular based on what you're bringing on the boat. You know, food, that's a big thing. A lot of the times people overbuy food. People leave food and drinks on my boat all the time. So just be very particular, and you can budget in that sense and just kind of cut back on your spending. You know, and a big way to accomplish this is through Truebill, which is an existing sponsor here on Life by the Bow. And it's crazy how much money we've spent on boating and fishing over the years, and it really adds up. But to be more specific, Truebill is a finance app that basically just helps you save more money. The app will allow you to set up budgets so you can monitor your spending by categories, and this is something that's huge because it helps us keep track of all the little miscellaneous things that we forget to write off in our taxes, since Life by the Bow is a business. Now, you can also see your spend to earn ratio, which is helpful because when we go a little overboard, we can say, hey, let's cut back a little bit, let's take the Pathfinder, that way we can save on fuel. But you can also set up a smart savings account where you can deposit savings into a particular account on the platform that you can withdraw from at any time. So in essence, it's like your little gas money piggy bank. But what's cool is the app is free, and you can unlock more features through premium. So if it's something that you guys want to try out, go ahead, click the link down in the video description, or you can just head to truebill.com/lifebythebow. But I'm gonna keep on moving down the list, and the next thing I wanna talk about is finding the right cruise speed. And for those of you that are new to boating, every boat has what's called a cruise speed. And basically it's the speed at which you're getting places as fast as possible when burning the least amount of fuel. You see, when your boat's in gear and you're idling, that's typically when you're burning the least amount of fuel. However, in our case, we run power boats, and with power boats, we typically want to get places a little bit quicker. That's why we have a lot of horsepower on the back of our boats. Obviously, we don't want to idle everywhere, but at the same time, we want to get places without burning a lot of fuel. We want to save on fuel. That's the whole reason why we're watching this video, right? So every boat has what's called the cruise speed, and basically what a cruise speed is, it's when you're burning the least amount of fuel as possible while going as fast as possible. And the ways that you can find that optimal cruising speed is just by paying attention to your trim, you know, looking at your gallons per hour, in some cases miles per gallon if you have a boat that's very, very good on fuel. And something that I know about both of the boats that we run, between this Pathfinder and our Contender, this Pathfinder runs at its best cruising speed, burning the least amount of fuel at 3,300 RPMs with just a tiny little bit of trim. So just by paying attention to these little things, it can make a huge difference when it comes to saving fuel. Now, this is a very obvious one, and it kind of coincides with what I just talked about, and that's simply just slow down. Very simple, just pull down off the throttles, go a little slower. You don't have to go wide open everywhere you go. However, if that's how you run your boat, you probably don't worry about gas prices or gas in general. So this one is kind of one that's not so important and very obvious, but I still figured I'd throw it in there. Now, this is a big one because a lot of us run around in our boats carrying so much gear and so much stuff that we never even use. So the fact that we run two boats, we typically always clear our gear out of both boats after every use. You see, the more gear you have, the more weight you have in the boat. The more weight you have in the boat, the more it's going to slow down the boat, and the more the boat's being slowed down, the harder the engines have to work to push the boat. Therefore, you're burning more fuel. So that's a huge one. If you got extra weights in the boat, or you have extra fishing gear, just all this extra junk that you keep in your boat that you don't use, just remove it. You'd be surprised how much weight you can save on your boat just by removing gear that you probably never are going to use. So that's a huge one. Another one that coincides with what I just mentioned is carry less fuel. Now, not so much with this smaller Pathfinder here, but our 39 Contender, that boat carries 500 gallons of fuel. We're not gonna burn 500 gallons of fuel all in one day. However, we'll burn that much fuel, you know, whenever we're hopping around the Bahamas throughout a week's period. But simple day out fishing or just a weekend right out here offshore, a couple days, we'll probably burn 100 to 200 gallons at the maximum. So in that case, we'd probably carry around 250, 300 gallons just to be safe. You see, if you're carrying around all that extra fuel, it's just kind of unnecessary and it's going to weigh the boat down. So that's a big one to keep in mind. Next up, fish with friends. And the reason why I say this is because friends always contribute. If they're good friends, you know, they'll pitch in for gas, they'll bring sandwiches, they'll bring ice, they'll bring tackle, they'll bring gear. They'll bring things to basically just cut down on the cost of the actual trip when it comes out to going out on the boat. But the fuel bill is typically the highest bill. So if you just say to your buddies, hey, you know, things are expensive nowadays. Fuel prices are high. You know, do you guys mind splitting up fuel? And like I said, if they're good friends, they shouldn't have a problem doing that with you. So that's a great, great way to save money on fuel. Last but not least, keep the bottom of your boat clean. And this is if you keep your boat in the water. If you keep your boat in the water, you should have it bottom painted. And with bottom paint, you get all types of growth and vegetation, things that stick and grow to the bottom of the boat. And ultimately, this is going to create more drag on the boat. And when you have more drag, you know, it's gonna slow the boat down. It's gonna take a lot more to push that boat, and ultimately, it's gonna cut into your fuel economy. Last but not least, and this is basically specific on fishing boats, or really just any hatch in your boat that holds water, make sure it's drained. You know, our Contender, it has over 100 gallons worth of live well space in the boat. And if we were to keep our live well vents open, the boat has high-speed pickups. those live wells are gonna fill all the way to the top, and that's over 100 gallons of water that we're carrying inside of our boat. So that's all I have for today, guys. If you guys have any suggestions based on how to save money on fuel, I'd greatly appreciate it if you'd write it down in the comments below. Also, if you just have any extra input, leave a thumbs up. It helps out tremendously for the channel and all of the videos. But until next week, we'll see you guys here, right back on Life by the Bow.